Okay, today's video we're going to talk about what's the best website hosting for your small business. This isn't just a typical video bullshit piece of content out there that you get from other hosting companies trying to tell you to buy their hosting, or a lot of times what you see is different websites and such out there that website hostings doesn't look like have paid for that content or run that content. They just have unbranded content. You go to Google, what's the best website hosting company? You know, they set up a website that looks like some independent review company. It's really the hosting company. All this information I'm sharing with you here is real information. I make $0 whether you use one company or the other. I actually learned a whole bunch about web hosting for different, hosting our company's websites, businesses I've ran and managed, tons of different clients, to give you the knowledge that I'm giving you here on today's video. So learn from my mistakes so you don't have to learn from my mistakes, basically. The long version of this, I could go on for quite a while on the details about this stuff, but the short of it is you get what you simply pay for with website hosting. There's website hosting out there that's free, and inherently anything that's got to be free has got to be crappy, right? Well, that applies for $5 a month hosting, $10 a month hosting. The more you pay, technically the better your money, the better value, the better quality hosting you're going to get. But a lot of people don't simply understand, well, what's the difference between what's good versus bad hosting? That's what I'm going to exactly cover in here, so you understand what you're actually getting for when you pay $100 a month for hosting versus $10 a month for hosting. There's a huge difference in what you tangibly get between the $10 a month package and the $100 a month package, which, by the way, that $10 a month hosting package costs you way more than $100 a month than the $100 a month package does. In other words, you're losing money by using that $10 a month package that you just don't simply know why and how you're losing it, because you don't have the knowledge and haven't went through the trials and tribulations I have in the last 20 years to pick up this knowledge about why the hell that $10 a month package costs you your ass and what you ultimately lost sales for your business. So with that said, I'll go into the content. So I, like I mentioned, went through all the mistakes managing and running websites since 2005. I used to do e-commerce myself. I've managed a bunch of different smaller projects, websites I've owned. I've also worked with hundreds and hundreds of different clients. And I ran an agency that runs and manages people's ads currently and done that for hundreds of clients in the last 10 years. And then currently today, I'm also a part owner on many different websites as well. So I have about as vast a knowledge as you could possibly get, given we don't work with just local home service companies or e-commerce companies. I've seen it all. I've done it all in terms of types of businesses, at least. With that, I can tell you definitively while cheaper packages do seem better at the surface, assuming you have no breadth of knowledge about ultimately experiencing what a crappy package is like, or comparing it versus a good versus a bad package of hosting. When you don't have a lot of experience, the cheaper package always seems better. And actually in life, now more expensive doesn't always mean better. There's people that charge more and just spend it all on advertising to make you think it's better, like a Gucci purse. That purse is only $300 worth of materials. You're paying $3,000 for it. You're paying for the branding. Hosting can technically be the same way, which is why you still technically, when you get what you pay for, you still have to pick the right company that's not just spending it all on marketing and branding to make you simply think it's the better package. You want the money, what you're paying, to be invested in what the offer is. They spend a little on marketing. They put it all into the product. But ultimately, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's easy to just think the cheap package is the better package, out there, because in many different markets, you're buying a new muffler for your car, and there's one for $120, one for $60, and you don't know jack shit about mufflers. Of course you're going to go with the $60 one. You have no basis of comparison to why the $120 one's more relevant, or what's more important about it. For hosting, it's so technical And there's pitfalls with using crappy hosting that you don't simply see until you see it and it's happened to you. You're just not going to realize why you have to pay $100 a month for hosting flat out. That's why I made this video. Like everything in life, what you pay for pretty much dictates what you get. And with some, different exceptions where people are charging a lot for shitty products still, as a whole, averaged out through the whole web hosting market, you get what you pay for. More expensive packages are able to offer you a better quality product. You want that higher quality product. Or let's say you don't have to pay $1,000 a month for hosting, which I'm sure it exists, but you need to pay at least the bare minimum. Otherwise, what you're going to get is like the equivalent of buying anything at Walmart, which the products at Walmart are made anymore to break after like 2 uses of it. You don't want that to be the hosting package that is the foundation of your entire website, which is the foundation of basically of your entire business. You don't want to be found building everything. You're spending all this money on marketing and advertising, and then you spent $10 a month on hosting and expose yourself to all these potential problems. You don't want to be that company. And now, once you've seen this video, you know why. So what are the actual problems as to why that $10 hosting package costs you so much? There's 4 main things I can break this down into to simplify the entire thing in a nutshell. The first of which, the biggest one, by far the biggest one, is the load speed. The load speed of your website, okay? The less you pay, generally speaking, as a whole, the slower your web page is going to load for users. And if you don't already know, the faster your web page loads, the more money you're going to make, because your conversion rate goes higher the faster the page loads, because there's more and more of a drop off from people leaving your web page because they're impatient and they expect it to load faster. The slower your web page gets. And the web hosting is a physical infrastructure that your website files are hosted on, that people have to be able to, using their computer and their web browser or their phone's web browser on their phone, to fetch the files from your web hosting account. And if the infrastructure is shitty, you have a big bottleneck that the files can't be fetched from your web hosting infrastructure that your website's hosted on as fast as if it was on better infrastructure, such as good website hosting. To give you a fair analogy here, most people understand what a hard drive is on their computer. There's old school platter hard drives that are magnetic hard drives, and there's solid state hard drives. The solid state hard drive makes your computer run much, much faster. If you host your website on a solid state hard drive versus a magnetic hard drive, the files can be picked up off the web server faster than they could get off a magnetic hard drive. When you pay $10 a month for hosting, part of how they make that possible for you is they put it on a magnetic hard drive versus a solid state hard drive. So it's going to slow down the website because it physically cannot, the user that you want to download the website physically can't access the files on your website as fast because magnetic hard drives simply are slower to route traffic through the hard drive and get the files to the user than a solid state hard drive. So you get what you pay for there. And basically speaking, if you want like zero drop off from people like getting impatient in terms of waiting for your website to load and then leaving because it's taking too long, you need to get your website loading in 2 seconds or less. That's kind of the, some people will say the faster it loads, the better your conversion rate's going to be. I've looked into this enough. I've seen this enough myself with different clients' websites. As long as it loads in 2 seconds or less, you're already good. Most people are going to give you, 99% of people are going to give you at least 2 seconds for the website to load. Now, the longer it takes past 2 seconds for the website to load, the more people are going to leave, and the less money you're going to make from the same exact web traffic coming into your site, because there'll be a higher percentage of people leaving before the web page loads because they're too impatient and they're going to wait for your website to load for them. So the less you pay for the web hosting, the slower the page loads on average for users, the more people that leave, the less your ROI is going to be on any ad traffic you drive to the site, or any traffic in general you drive to the site, from organic clicks, from social media clicks or whatnot. And for that matter, your organic rankings, if your page loads too slow, Google would rather rank somebody else because that doesn't provide a good experience for the user. Because Google systems nowadays mainly is just trying to figure out what web page is the most popular, and then on top of that, which provides the best experience for the users when they get to your site. Do they get what they want quickly, or did they not get what they want? And if the web page is popular and it's also delivering on a good experience for the user, they want to rank that the highest. And ultimately that's all it comes down to, basically speaking. So if your page loads slow and you're trying to rank organically, well, it's a self-defeating thing that you've set up for yourself. Anyway, so you got to pay a certain amount to get your website hosted on a server. It's a dedicated server, which you can use a virtual private server, which is basically the same thing, that hosts your website on a solid state hard drive. That's going to give you the maximum load speed because you're not sharing resources with other websites. Because the notorious thing that the cheaper web hosting companies do is they put all the files of all the websites on one part of a hard drive, and then ultimately when people from the other websites try to access those files, that takes resources away from people accessing your files. That's why they call it shared hosting, not dedicated hosting. So dedicated hosting will always cost more, but people will be able to access your files more because there's dedicated resources on that hard drive where your website exists for users to be able to use to access those files. So if your website, basically, long story short here, you need to go ahead and see how fast your web page loads. And if it doesn't load as quickly as 2 seconds and you're not using the best hosting already, which I use Liquid Web Managed VPS for my own website because I've tested a bunch and that provides the best load speeds, which is around $60 a month, then you're losing money and you're losing more than the extra $50 it's going to cost for you to upgrade your hosting to the Liquid Web VPS hosting for your small business or whatnot. So, and then there's a bunch of different services out there. If you go and you Google test my website load speed, there's a bunch of different services. Don't rely on the first one you see. Try several of them and average out your speeds to get your true speed. For the most part, most of them aren't even accurate, as I found and you'll find. And then furthermore, depending on where your website's hosted and where the server where that service that's letting you test the website load speed is at, will dictate your load speed. So that these different services out there that'll test the download speed of your web page, they're all physically located in different places. So because it takes time for files that you're fetching from the web server to reach wherever you're downloading it from. It takes time for electricity to go through the wires physically. And it's like for every 500 miles, it might take another 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 seconds, whatever. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's significant when you're talking about longer distances. So you got to take that into consideration in terms of figuring out what your true load speed is. And then furthermore, I don't know if you have a lot of international visitors to your website, but when taking what I just said, compounding that, somebody in Australia that's trying to download your website when your website's hosted in the USA, you may have a 2-second load speed in the USA, but it might be 5 seconds in Australia because of the distance. So you have to decide you should basically decide where your website's hosted. If you have a business in Australia, I'm getting my website hosted in Australia. You host your website closest to wherever most of your customers are coming from. But also, just basically know that, you basically have to have hosting that is going to set you up to have a fast load speed for most of your customers based upon where they're at. And as you do the testing of your own website to see if it's fast enough, you might want to do it from a few different areas. There's services that will let you test the speed from like Seattle, New York. That's what you basically want to do. And then see okay, we're at 2 seconds in Seattle, but we're at 3.5 seconds in New York. Well, maybe we have to upgrade our hosting to fix that particular issue. So just some different things to consider here. But rarely that shared hosting load as fast as the dedicated VPS like I talked about. You're talking about a website loading in like 3.5 seconds versus 2 seconds, just going from shared hosting to a dedicated VPS, which that you're talking about losing an additional 50% of your customers from converting that you drive to your site right now that won't convert by having the difference being, by having a 3.5 second load time versus a 2 second load time. You could tell how much you're going to lose by going ahead and typing in Google average load speed effect on website conversion rates, and you'll find a chart that physically says if it loads at 3 seconds, here's what you lose. If it loads at 4 seconds, here's what you lose. So anyway, that's the bigger concern out of all of these. But for some other things to consider how you're hosing yourself by trying to go for the cheap option, the customer service that you get from a company that's charging you $10 a month is going to be awful. Cheap, non-managed hosting services, which meaning they don't manage your website hosting. Either you have to manage your own website on that hosting account, and there's nobody there to help you decide if your website crashes, why it crashed. Is it the hosting? Is it not the hosting? There's no one there you could call to physically check on that. You'll have email support. Well, if your website's down, you're spending $1,000 a day on advertising at some point 5 years down the road. Well, that can cost you an easy, 10 grand worth of sales in one day because your hosting failed, because it's put on crappy infrastructure and you couldn't get a hold of anybody right away to deal with your issue. Or if it's like GoDaddy, but you're on a cheap plan still, you call, you're getting a bonehead on the phone who doesn't know anything because they can't afford to pay someone who knows anything to answer the phone. And they get told that we're not responsible for your website going down on a shared hosting plan. Versus if you go with the Liquid Web Managed VPS, and by the way, I don't get paid by them. I'm just telling you this because this is what I found works the best and I use. Go to my website, check my code, you can see what I use. But if you get a Liquid Web Managed VPS, if your website goes down, you think it's the hosting, call them up. They'll instantly have somebody that's knowledgeable that tells you why it's down and fix it on the spot. And if it's not the hosting, they'll tell you what you should do, even though they're not even supposed to have to do that. So that's a big plus. So if you don't have an IT guy on staff full time that can immediately jump on something, jump on a problem when your website goes down, having that resource that you could call up and say, my website's down, what do you think is the reason? And they'll say, oh, it looks like da-da-da-da-da. Then you could go hire somebody real quick and at least hire the right person off of Upwork or whatever to get your site up right away. That's invaluable. And then on top of that, going into the next thing, once you also consider that through Liquid Web VPS, you can do server imaging and automated backups. So that, which you can do this with other cheaper plans too, technically, but through Liquid Web VPS, I'll have it set up so that every day, once a day, the website, how it exists on the website, given all the changes that occurred, within the last day, we take a snapshot of the website so that if the website goes down tomorrow, we can immediately restore from the previous day. So we don't have to worry about making a backup of our website. Our website's going to go down at some point. So we literally could call Liquid Web VPS, ask why the website's down. They'll say X, Y, Z, and they'll say, do you want me to restore from the last restore point? Yes, click, 5 minutes later, website's back up again. So you have an insurance policy against your website being down, basically, which beyond that, we even also have a service that monitors if the website's down, which you should eventually do if you aren't doing it right away, that as soon as the website goes down, you get a notification, so you could call Liquid Web and your website's not down for any more than like 15 minutes. That way, any traffic you're driving into your site, you don't lose any of that, if you will. People getting to the page and it's not there. But basically through the backups you can do that automatically backups once, it doesn't back up once a day, and then stores the backups for up to 30 days so that if your website, sometimes your website doesn't even go down. It will get hacked and they'll put a few some malware on your site. Well, you won't notice it right away, and then 2 weeks later you get a notification from Google saying, we noticed you have malware on your site, we're going to shut down your ad campaigns. If you don't have a backup done every day automatically like that, when you go to restore the site, you're going to restore the site from the last time you did a backup. It might be 3 months ago you did a backup. Well, you've changed your site in the last 3 months. Now you got to go redo all those changes again. Having 30 days of backups done once a day, you could basically figure out, you calling Liquid Web, when is it that it looks like the malware went on the site, looking at the server log, and then they can maybe figure it out, and they could say it happened on this date, so I'll restore the backup from this day before this the day it looks like they did it, and then your site's back up and it's fixed. Then you can, of course, add the extra security to your site so that they can't get back on your site and hack it again, which, by the way, if they hacked your site once and you fix it, that's not taking care of the problem. That person already knows how to hack your website, and you're going to have to put up more infrastructure so that they don't hack it again. And just changing the password by itself many times isn't it. You need an anti-malware monitoring software that can look at. What we had to do, by the way, is set up a malware service, a scanner that will check the site once a day, every 6 hours. And if the code on the website's changed at all, it looks to see if there's any malware on the site. And if it is, it automatically restores the website to the previous backup for us automatically. And then on top of that, you do things like you change the login URL of where you log in, because when somebody goes to hack your website, if they don't know where your login page is, well, then they can't hack your website so easily. And there's just other things that you can do to harden your website, which the bigger you get as a company, the more people are going to want to hack your website and post bullshit on your website because it's more valuable to them. You're going to up your security the bigger you get. And if you aren't constantly upgrading your security, you'll find out once you get hacked and your ad account gets shut down or whatnot. But anyway, with cheaper services like even with GoDaddy or whatever, you could do automated daily backups like I said. But it costs money. So you may say, oh, I don't need automated backups, so nothing's going to happen. Trust me, your website is going to go down at some point. When it goes down, and the bigger problem is you're now scrambling, well, who has a backup? Who did my website? Do they have a backup? Do they not have a backup? You don't want to be shitting your pants in that situation. You want to be in position to know that there's the worst case possible scenario is you have to call your hosting company and get them to restore for the previous backup point, and you're already good. Take my word for it. So you want to pay extra just for the automated backups, or there's some outside services that do automated daily backups, but either way, you got to get that done. I like the hosting company doing it because at least if the hosting company's doing it, I can call the hosting company that I already have their number stored in my cell phone, and they'll restore it for me in real time, no matter, with Liquid Web, it'll be 24 hours a day. If I find out the site's down at 1 a.m., I could call them and in 5 minutes the site's back up because I got them to restore it for me on their own backups that they have on their servers. So anyway, something else to consider. And then finally, the security. I talked a little bit about this, but when you're using the cheap shared hosting, okay, the way that they're able to afford to give you a $10 a month package, like I was talking about before, is they pack like 20 guys' business websites onto one little part of their web server, and you have to share all the server resources with those 20 other companies to make it so they can offer you the $10 a month package. Well, if somebody wants to take out their competitor, right, you could do what is called a DDoS attack on that company. Basically what a DDoS attack, if you don't know what it is when you overwhelm somebody's website with a bunch of requests. Basically, it's just like trying to access the website. Well, they'll get what is called a botnet going, where they'll go ahead and hack like 50,000 computers. Somebody will do this, and then they'll sell, that person who hacks all these computers will put a bug on there, so it's not to do anything to those computers, but so it's at any time at the press of a button, they can get that computer, to turn it into a slave, and go to any website that they want. And then they'll go to guys, middleman, who will say, I have this botnet. If you want to use it, this is how much it costs to access my botnet, that I have access to these 50,000 computers in real time for anything you need. And that middleman will go around to other businesses or whatnot. And it doesn't exactly work like this, but hypothetically, just take my word for it. They'll go to other businesses and say, hey, how would you like to take your competitor down? I can take their website down in 15 minutes guaranteed. Here's the price. And some people will do it. And then that person, the business owner that wants to take their competitor down, hires the middleman. The middleman goes to the guy he already knows owns this botnet. The botnet shoots out the message to the 50,000 computers they control to visit the competitor's website, and then the resources on the web server that has the web hosting files on it gets overloaded, and then the website goes down. And then basically what happens is, they'll call the web hosting company, they'll get it back up, and then a few days later they'll hack it down again. You get back up, hack it down again. And then basically, they'll try to drive the guy out of business because he can't. A lot of businesses they're running by the seat of their pants there, and they can't take a month where they have no revenue. It'll be knocked out of business. And that's what you could do to somebody. And so anyway, why does this all matter? Well, if somebody that does that to their competitor, if somebody on the shared hosting with you has that happen to them, your website in proximity is also going to go down. So you're basically multiplying the risk that you have of this DDoS attack happening, because if anybody gets hacked anywhere else on the shared hosting account with you, your stuff's likely to go down too. So it multiplies the risk for your company by sharing your website hosting with that person. It's almost like saying, if you had 20 roommates and one of those people could have a crazy ex-girlfriend or whatever, or boyfriend or whatever, that could come in and try to, shoot the place up. Well, you don't have that risk if you have your own house. Well, you think of the web hosting kind of the same way. Why it's bad enough your competitors could try to hack your website down in the way that I described with a DDoS attack. Why have the added risk of 19 other people potentially having it done to them and then affecting you as a byproduct of that? So you don't want crappy shared hosting because of that reason in and itself. And your security in that regard directly, your website's going to be less secure, but also there's just less security resources dedicated to keeping your website up from people that want to hack your website down in other ways on top of it, not just DDoS, but other ways which I won't get into. Because they don't have as much money, they got to make a cut somewhere. You get what you pay for. They can only invest so much time, resources, infrastructure, employee time, employee salaries to manage your account at the end of the day. And you pay them $10, you're getting $10 worth of value. You pay $60, you're getting $60 worth of value. That's all, sorry, it's the way that it is. And so you could take all these extra risks and hope it doesn't happen to you. And it may be okay today. Maybe okay tomorrow. It may be okay next year. 5 years from now, when you're not just doing 50 grand a year and this is a hobby business, you're doing $1 million a year in sales, and you've forgotten all about what I told you here today, and your website gets hacked down, and you don't have a backup ready, and you're crapping your pants, and you don't know what to do. You'll regret it at that point. You can ask around. Nobody that owns a business doesn't have a problem with their website getting hacked at some point, because everybody has to learn these lessons I told you here the hard way, because there's endless amount of assholes out there who want to do shit to your website. The bigger you get, like I said, the more you're a target, the bigger target you have on your back. So if you plan on getting successful, you especially have to do this. If you're only going to make $50,000 a year with your website and it's a side hustle, who cares? Okay, whatever. But if you're turning this into a serious business, you should think about this stuff up front, not after it happens. And ultimately, you're going to have to do it one way or another. It's just a matter of, are you going to get hacked today or tomorrow? Why not just handle it up front? So you could say, well, I don't have much money, so I'll do it later. Well, I can tell you firsthand dealing with clients, when people say they're going to do it later, that means never. That means it ain't going to happen. You're going to forget all about it, and you're not going to do nothing until your website gets hacked down. And it takes you a week to get it back up because you don't know what the F to do, how to fix it, where to fix it, what to do, and you lost a week's worth of income because you didn't deal with it up front. So anyway, I use Liquid Web Managed VPS. Go to Liquid website. For $60 a month, you're covered on most of these things. Now you still have to do hardening of your website. Like I said, that's just a whole separate thing, but at least for the hosting, that's about as best of hosting you're going to get for a reasonable price that spends most of the money you pay them on the resources itself. Like I said, you want. So I wouldn't tell you to use it if I didn't use it myself. And then on top of that, figure out how to harden your website so that people that want to hack websites don't think you're an easy mark, because they go out and they do the basic equivalent of, they go around, down the street and they try to see if a window's locked. If it's locked, they say, oh, fuck that place. They go to the next house, they do the same thing. They go to enough houses, they're going to find 1 out of 50 houses somebody doesn't lock their windows. Now, you know they could take advantage of that company. That's the equivalent of what these people do. They try to put malware on people's websites. They scan websites and they look for easy marks. Oh, this guy doesn't have it jack shit for security on their website. Okay, let's take advantage of this guy. Just be the guy who it's too hard to screw with you that they won't screw with you. You just have to be better than 90% of people in terms of their security, and you'll never have a problem. You be at the bottom of the pack, though, you're going to get effed with at some point. And like I said, though, the bigger you get, the bigger the target you have. So to be in the top 90% in your class of business, where you're at today, it's not going to be where it's at when you're a $5 million a year company. It's a total different story then. So you have to continuously decide what else you're going to need to do. You know, once you reach 500,000 a year, $1 million a year, 3 million a year, 10 million a year, 20 million, and you have to spend more on it as you go up. So anyway, wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, I have a lot of other videos on this channel about how to make money with online advertising. I know this is not really related to that. It's off the beaten path, but you're a business owner. You're trying to get you want to make millions of dollars with your business and creating a repeatable, scalable ad strategy for your business that makes sales and pays for itself. This is the channel you want to watch, as is I actually guarantee results for our clients at our PPC management firm. Nobody else does that, and the strategies I use to give people those results, I'm telling you on this channel for free. So if you want to be able to get the same success get that same level of success for yourself, you just simply have to watch and do the stuff I tell you to do. It's all the working strategies. It's coming from somebody who manages dozens of ad accounts at any given time and tells you what works. Whereas other channels these people are YouTubers, they're not managing people's accounts like that, or they're managing a couple accounts. I know what's going on in real time. It's the best information you're going to find about that particular topic on YouTube. Trust me on that. If you like the channel, I also got a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. You can definitely, if you like the channel, you'll like my blog. If you thought the information that I shared with you today here is valuable, I'd appreciate it if you would give the video a like. And with that said, if you are wanting somebody to look at your ads or want to run an ad campaign, would like to work with the best ad manager you can find on the internet, reach out to my site at guaranteeppc.com. I'd be happy to look at your stuff and see if we can work together. I don't work with just anybody, but if you have a great product or service that will sell, that just needs great marketing added on at the top, I'd be happy to probably work with you and can guarantee you a certain minimum of an increase in sales in your business without charging any fees up front. And there's no catch. You just have to have a great setup there that we know we can crush it on. At the very least, I'll look at your stuff and tell you what I would do, whether we're going to work together or not, just for reaching out to me. So that's invaluable information either way. So I'd be happy to hear from you by reaching out through my site. If you want some quick results and don't need an ad manager to take over your campaigns, but you still want some good information, we also have campaign templates that work in dozens of different markets, because we've worked in 500 plus markets at this stage at doing the PPC management firm that I have. And if we've already gotten the results in your market already, you should just simply take the results we've gotten in your market. We have campaign templates that you can copy and paste into your account and get the same results that the person that we worked with last time in a non-competing market got, and we can tell you what the results you would get with it up front. So don't waste your time doing all the hard work when we've done it all for you. So anyway, if you're interested to see if we got results in your market already, reach out to me. I'll let you know on that as well. So, but with that, I'll wrap it up. Hopefully you enjoyed this information. It was helpful to you, helped you, basically be able to avoid disaster in the future, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.